Today, I want to talk about one of the strangest things that used to happen to me quite often in meetings when I was in the mining industry. People would look straight at me, completely seriously, and say, Kirsten, can you please explain that? And the funny part was, everyone was already speaking English. This was years ago, and I was working in one of those periods where things were, well, let's just say they were not going smoothly. You know that feeling when your part of the process is not working and suddenly everyone is looking to your team to find a fix. It's a really, really high pressure moment. And that's the kind of period of time, months, that we were having. And we were having these really high stress, regular meetings with senior management every day. It was a big table, everyone looked stressed, and tensions were running a little high. And everyone in the group, in our department, had to answer the same question: what's gone wrong? What are you doing about it? And when will it be fixed? There wasn't any small talk, there was no sort of casual chit chat, just a lot of stress. Now, the engineers in my team, in my group, were excellent. They were brilliant people. And some of them were less confident in their English. We would go through the technical details. I'd scan their presentations and make sure everything was okay, give them a bit of confidence. And basically, their English was good. It was accurate, it was professional. And I'd think, all right, they can do this. Then we'd have the meeting, and one of the team would stand up and explain their part of the process: the root cause, action plan, and a timeline. It was all correct. But I'd look around the room and I could just feel it. No one was angry, no one was disagreeing. It was just uncertainty. Like the executives were thinking, okay, but are you really on top of this? And then almost every time, someone would turn to me and say, Kirsten, can you try and explain this a little bit more? At first, I was genuinely confused. Explain? What? Translate? I'm not switching languages here. This is already in English, and you want me to say it again in English, but I'd do it anyway. And here's the part that still makes me a bit confused. I would just basically say the same thing. There was no new information. I didn't give some magical technical insight that made this stand out as clear. I just framed it slightly differently. And suddenly everyone would nod. Okay, great, perfect. I remember thinking, what just happened? It took me a little while to understand it. The engineers were being technically correct, but they weren't creating confidence in the room. And that might sound unfair, because it kind of is unfair, but it's real. Let me give you a simple example. One engineer might say, we're working on the problem, we check the pump every day, and we think this is the issue. Totally understandable. There's nothing wrong with it. The English is perfect. But to a stressed executive, it can sound a bit like, we noticed this recently, we're still figuring it out, hopefully it's the pump. Now, compare that with, we've identified the root cause. It's the feed pump. We've been monitoring it since Tuesday. The replacement part is already ordered and will be back online by Monday. Same situation, same facts, a little bit more detail, but the feeling is totally different. One sounds reactive, like we're reacting to the situation. And the other sounds like we're in control of the situation. And that's what those managers needed in those really emotional, high stress times. Not more English, not better English, but more certainty. This is something I wish more people understood, and it's something I wish I understood earlier in my career. In a high pressure workplace like the mining industry, communication isn't just about being understood. It's not just about being technically accurate. It's about being trusted. It's about making the other person feel this person has this under control. And small language choices matter here. Not because the grammar is important or correct, but because the way you frame it is important. The way you speak can signal, I'm on top of it. I've been tracking this. There is a plan. There is a timeline. You don't need to panic. That's not advanced English. That's not perfectly correct English. You don't need to sound like an academic professor. It's just professional presence. Look, honestly, here's the hard part. Most people don't realize this until it has already costed them something. Maybe they've explained an idea clearly, but then, like me, someone comes in and restates it. That other person gets the credit, and suddenly the room is listening to them. Or maybe you've had feedback like, your communication needs improvement. Maybe you think my English is okay. How advanced do I need to take it? Look, sometimes it could be a bias. Yes, biases do exist. Accent bias, cultural communication bias, absolutely. But more often, it's this gap, the gap between being correct and sounding confident, between being understood and being believed. So, what can you do with this information? You don't need to become a different person, and you certainly don't need perfect English. But you do need a few reliable ways to frame your message for the moments that matter. Instead of we're working on it, try we've identified the cause and we're already implementing the fix. Instead of we think it might be, try the most likely cause is this and we'll confirm it by tomorrow. They're tiny shifts, but they have huge impact. I think about those meetings a lot. The engineers were brilliant and they deserved to be trusted immediately. But communication isn't just transferring information, it's also transferring confidence. So if you've ever felt invisible in a meeting or like your ideas aren't being heard the way they should, you're not alone. It's not about being more technical or more fancy or more accurate. Sometimes it's just about being clearer in the way that you frame what you already know. If this is something that you want to get better at, especially in technical or mining environments, that's the kind of work I do with clients. Not classroom English, just real communication skills. See you in the next episode.